Hey, so I wanted to go into the relationship aspect of the divine feminine, which has been an amazing journey. Okay, so let's get into this. And actually, I know I talked about divine feminine spirituality and whatnot, but actually, the relationship aspect is so huge. And I have two different viewpoints in which I came. One viewpoint is that I had a soulmate relationship, and it was like open, close, because it's very intense when you have a soulmate. Your heart chakra is just wide open. You like the hurt is like so intense, but then the love is so intense. It's ridiculous. Okay. I know you guys want soulmates, but like, hey, be ready for it. Okay. You're going to cry a lot. But what it was funny because your heart chakra is so open and there's so much love. It actually taught me a lot of the divine feminine in a relationship. So I'm just going to go over how we really got a lot of things wrong in this modern generation and how implementing more of these divine feminine relationship aspects have really been, oh my God, like my dating life is good. Even my soulmate who we break off and on, and he's like, he doesn't even know why, but like he's like instantly attracted. And so let's talk about big picture, what I've learned. And the reason I'm sharing this is because no one talks about this and I'm discovering it and it works and I'm implementing it, but no one wanted to talk about this, I think, in such a direct way, which is why I'm doing this. So, in general, women, men, masculine men, provider, women, receiver, okay? So, the last relationships, I wanted something done, you would tell the men what to do. Hey, I need this, I need this. You're not doing this. Start arguments, starts fights. And it all comes down to the woman is actually supposed to be open, receptive, and in her body. I heard someone say, I feel, I say what I feel, he hears, he provides, and then I receive, right? And there are so many levels to this, so I'll try to be as cohesive as possible. Yeah, the cat's real, messing up my crystal grids. Someone asked, how do you know someone's your soulmate? I did not realize at first. Maybe it took like about a good 3 weeks. And it was just like this escalating attraction. It was like this escalating attraction. And like, just picture someone just fitting what you like and you fitting what they like to a perfect T. And it just kept escalating and escalating. And like, when you're around them, this is when you know your heart chakra opens. Now, if you're not sensitive to energy, you might not know that, but your heart chakra opens and you're surrounded in this love energy. It's like a bubble of love. And it feels good. Love feels good, but it's not like this conscious love is from the soul. It's like the love God or Jesus has. So, you know what like it is unconditional love. And a lot of people don't know what that feel like. And I didn't know either, but that's when and you're just in this bubble. It's also marked because your heart chakra is so open to this person that when it hurts, it hurts. And we had broke up, which is fine. Like every time we broke up, like there was transformation, they would get back together and it would just make us better people. Like there was a lot of spiritual growth. So like I said, you had to be open, you had to be vulnerable, you had to admit what you want, you had to say what you want. And sometimes that's hard for women to just admit that, but it really forces you because it's unconditional love. If you're not happy, you really just had to be honest about like, this triggered because, you know, back in the day guys did this and I only thought that my value was with through the body. You know what I mean? Like you just had to be open. And so it's this escalating things. Now sometimes you might have a twin flame, and that's when the person's just like you. Like your soulmate's not just like you. There's someone you really like. You like everything about them. They like everything about you. And then I started getting visions of me and the soulmate. Like we had this one vision where I was like this white woman. I was a priestess. Like we were in Norway, and he was like this king and big, bulky, like six. We're both like 6'4", and I'm like in my high priestess garb, and I'm white with my blonde hair, and he's like this bulky king. And I was like, dang, we've been through some lifetimes together. So that's what it is. Like they're beautiful, but just be prepared for the level of just being real and honest. Now, every time you was real and honest, there was growth and transformation. You were healing yourself, right? But it's not always easy for people to be that honest, okay? about why they're reacting or why they were triggered, because it might have something to do with self-esteem or something like that. So they are a beautiful thing, but I just say be ready to be very open and vulnerable. Like if you guys notice, I am someone who's very open about things. So even though it was hard for me, it's still easier for me than most to be open and vulnerable. Be like, I really want this, or this is what it did to me, or I'm sad, or I think you really didn't like me. Like I was like getting honest in a way that is not easy for the normal person to do, right? Oh, thank you, Katisha. Like it's not that easy. Okay, so soulmate relationships are great. You can manifest a soulmate relationship. I go over it in my how magic works class, a workshop that I did. But also you can manifest it. You can listen to affirmations at night. You can write it down. Like you can manifest one, but just be ready for the level of vulnerability and the growth. And it's going to be painful, but it's also going to be lovely. But if you can't be open and honest, don't do it, because you can really damage and scar each other. It's okay. So someone just said that her cab driver seems happy around her now. That's really cool. So let's talk about the relationship. So I learned a lot. And so because the heart chakra was so open, which I'm grateful, I'm like, wow, y'all really were preparing me to tap into the divine feminine. Like my spirit guide set things up, right? And I was like, okay. And so instead of hate, like if I was angry, I never got angry with them. I would get hurt, right? Which has its own issues, because sometimes when you react from hurt, you sort of like close down, and maybe that's not what you were supposed to do. But yeah, like it's completely different mindset. So this is what I've learned from that relationship, and what I've learned on top of that, going into deeper into like what was this that I just went through over the last year and a half, like all this learning lesson, like what was it for? And so with that person, I learned that, it's not about arguing. It was about really like just telling them what you felt. It got to the point where like I'd get so upset that things weren't happening my way. And like the guy's role is to activate the female. Isn't that funny? Like you think it's all us, but his role is to make us stand up and be the goddess that we are. Right. And until I learned that, we were having issues. But part of that was like, what do you feel? What do you want? Say it. And so many times we don't want to say what we want because we're scared we're going to chase off a guy or chase them off. But the exact opposite's true. What happens is when you say what you feel, you give the guy, a masculine guy, the chance to step up and just provide it for you. So it was very funny. So they're like, women feel, men provide, you receive. And that was the dynamic. And so it took a while before I can get that, because I'd get so worked up. And I was like, God dang it. And all I needed to do was saying, I feel this way and I want this to happen, right? And so it got to that point. And so I have like the soulmate was a guy that was like just like my brother. They're actually from the same soul planet, which is called Ajnu, which is like everyone's sort of like this bear like and like brother and him are like my soulmate from the same, which is sort of funny. I'm like, oh, they had someone watching over me until we were ready, to meet. That's because that's how it goes. These are like 40-year plans in the making. Okay. So, and so, what was I saying about the, all right. So it just really goes back to that until you just say what you feel. Not easy to do. And then going deeper outside of the soulmate relationship, leaning more into it, we've learned everything wrong. Like we've learned that, a guy is supposed to be, and this isn't the divine feminine. So I'm going to talk about the divine feminine. In the divine feminine relationship, the guy is not supposed to be everything. You're supposed to have friends for this. You're supposed to have business partners for this, but they're not supposed to be your best friend, your study buddy, your business partner. They're supposed to be the man. And you're supposed to talk about what you feel, what you want, and then they are supposed to provide and respond. And your job as a goddess on a pedestal, which you guys like, don't be mad at this and be like, oh, you're a goddess. Like, it's a beautiful thing, because your role as the masculine men is to help us be that person. Like, you guys apparently want that, right? You want us to be high quality. You want us to have these great standards. You want us to live to these high ideals. And so, so that is sort of the dynamic that is supposed to be taking place. Another dynamic that is supposed to be taking place is that, So they're not supposed to be everything to you. They're actually supposed to activate you. And you, as the woman, are supposed to just sit back and let it be, right? Like not telling the guy what to do. Oh, and that's what I was talking about. So this soulmate that I was with, he's the type very alpha, right? And so it was very obvious, just like I knew from my brother, like you can't control him. You can't tell him what to do. That's not, no, he's the type of guy who walks in and says everything with his whole chest, right? And so it had to teach me, like, okay, I can't just tell him what I want or what to do. That's not happening. And it really forced me to be like, this is what I want. This is what I feel. And I'd literally say, I have to give this to you. What I was doing was actually activating the masculine. The masculine wants to be the provider. He wants to solve the issues. And you're supposed to just sort of sit there and just let them know what it is and then sit and observe. Do they do it or do they not? Right? Because you give that same issue to another guy and they might just disregard it. And you're, as the goddess or the divine feminine, are supposed to sit back and go, okay, is this the kind of quality man that I want? Or is it a low quality person that I do not want here? Right? And so in this divine feminine and divine masculine, your job really is to just say what you feel and let them provide and receive what they provide. It is a completely different mindset. So when I needed something, I just told him how I felt about it. And that particular soulmate in his masculine energy stepped right up. But also women, we're here to activate that masculine energy. So all the things I did before, I'm doing different. So now when I do talk to men, it's about what do I feel? How am I in my body, and sitting back and observing. So I'm dating right now and it's going really well. I'm on like I'm on like 3 dating apps. I don't know. I'll tell you guys. Some of them are better than others. But I'm going out on dates. And part of this is that we have really done ourselves a disservice as women by being exclusive. So yes, the guy wants you to be exclusive, but we do ourselves a disservice, and we also make our value to the guy goes down when we are exclusive. So part of the divine feminine is going back to, we do not do boyfriend and girlfriend. If we do, we do it for a short amount of time, but you date, and you don't have to tell them who you're dating, right? But you date until commitment, and it's a different mindset. So it does 2 things on a couple of levels. What it does is it activates a lot of male energy your way because you're constantly getting the different dates and whatnot. But what it does for the ones that you do like, and for the men you do like, it activates that male hunt, because then he knows there's competition and it keeps him activated. So our job, so they're here to activate us, but we're here to activate them. And because of the way that we've been taught, when we go exclusive, they are no longer activated. What's the hunt? How are they the predator anymore? What is the key, right? And that's all that going exclusive. And that's when you get women who are in these 7-year relationships and never get married, right? And so part of the divine feminine, and I'm telling all women, you do not do boyfriend, girlfriend anymore. You date until you get commitment. Otherwise, the male energy does not stay activated. They don't stay in that predator hunt mode. That's all they like to do. So when you stay in that energy of I feel and letting them provide, you keep them activated, because that's what the masculine energy likes to do. Now, what you might come into contact with is, because of the society, some men are not in their masculine energy, but that is your job as the woman who's in her divine feminine, to make sure you're sparking that within him to understand. So part of that is, and this might seem very interesting, but being more passive in the relationship. Like, look, use your masculine energy like I do in my business. Use my masculine energy to get things done and to hunt for power, right? But when it came to the relationship, what it forced me to do was go, you sit back and you sort of let them lead. Now, it's funny because they're like, be submissive, and I just don't use that word, although it's probably that. My mind just doesn't go, I'm not being submissive, I'm letting someone lead. For some reason, they just have a completely different connotation to me. But when you're with someone you cannot control and you understand that, like, then it's let them lead, right? And part of that is sort of so that they can stay in that so that they feel like the man and the provider, right? And so all of these things I'm incorporating. So now when I'm talking, I am sitting back. And some men are so used to the women being aggressive, or as we call it in our masculine energy, being do, action, and whatnot, versus being in the female energy, which is receptive. You're in attract what you want from you. You're in I feel mode. that sometimes it's very interesting, like you're talking to them and they expect you to do all the work, but that's masculine energy and they're in their feminine energy. And you sit there and you have to sort of go, I'm just going to receive until you, as the masculine man, approach and do the hunting and do this. And it's funny because half of them will see, like, oh, I got to do something. Yes. And you're supposed to, as the masculine energy, and like all the roles have been flipped upside down. But yeah, all the roles have been flipped upside down, but you're supposed to. And then the other half just simply can't. They are so used to like the women being the aggressors or doing the work that they simply don't have that activate them on that hunt and that um that's not being activated. So that was it's very interesting seeing like the men who are like naturally like alpha and in the masculine energy. And since I've been implementing these strategies, not just with my soulmate but with other people, like guys don't even know why they're attracted, but like it's like, wow, it's this leading, letting them be the man, letting them follow. And it's an understanding like, look, you can be masculine in other areas, but when it comes to a relationship, let a man lead and provide, and you sit back and watch. So if there's 10 people I'm talking to on a dating app, let the few who are being in their masculine energy step up and do it. And it's completely different, isn't it? Like, we didn't learn this to like just sort of sit, lean back and let them do the work because they're supposed to. We're like, okay, well, how are you? What are you doing? Da 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 da. And it's just like, no, that's not your job. Your job is to feel, they provide. So, when you tell them you're excited for this to happen, how do they respond, right? Not that you're trying to control them, you're seeing how they respond. And as that goddess energy, you're sitting back and letting them show you, are they someone who takes your feelings seriously? And what I've found since I've been doing this is that there's a stronger and stronger sense of me trusting my intuition and my emotions. And it's getting to the point where like I feel this and it's like a confidence and a certainty and an unwavering. And it's like, wow, what a powerful place that you get to in this relationship aspect where your feelings are completely valid and they're at the height of what you think about, and what your feelings are goes. Like, that does matter. And you're just sitting back to see who is activated in the divine masculine. So I've learned all of these through my soulmate relationship, which forced the issue, but also through my own research. I will say again, there are a couple people I absolutely recommend who can go into this. So every woman here who, if your relationship isn't going as smooth as you want or you're dating, I'd recommend Adrienne Everhart. She's really good. And MJ Harris. They're really good at sort of tapping into this on like, what does it mean to be a divine feminine energy? And sort of like, what are the mechanics of having a relationship like this? I'd absolutely recommend it. It is a different ball game. I just know that like because women attract, divine feminine attract, right? And so I have a video on how my magic, when I manifest, is attraction. That has taught me to be in my divine feminine because I wait and receive what the universe gives me. But it's the same thing with relationships. You're supposed to attract to you what you want by working on yourself. So there's a lot of things going on right now with like, I'm just going to say it. There's a lot of Black male YouTubers who feel like it's their place to help Black women who are single not be single. And so on one hand, with the right partner, the divine masculine is here to help hold the divine feminine to the highest standards, right? But it's also the fact that they're taking on a role that's not theirs to take. Because I would suggest all these women what they need to do: focus on yourself, focus on your physical beauty if you want to, focus on your relationship, focus on being able to attract what you want, right? And then through that work of your self-acknowledgement and self-improvement, you're going to attract the right person for you, which may or may not be six figures, which honestly, six-figure people are not that big a deal. Act like it's the super highest value thing in the world. It's maybe it's because I'm a real estate investor. It's just, that's like a dime a dozen. It's like everyone in my IT like company. But they're taking on a role right now that it's not theirs to take. Everyone has the right to their own journey. It is not their role to be trying to tell these women. Now, what these women need to do and that they're not doing is learning how to tap into the divine feminine so they don't have to be the guy in the relationship and they don't have to be the aggressor, and they can sit back and watch and let those who are deserving come forward. And if they're not deserving, be the queen that goes, you know what, that's not what I like. You disregarded my feelings. You're not the provider I wanted. I will pass on this, right? And so they will have way more success doing that than going to these places where people who it's not their role or their place to try to tap them into it. And it's not their role or their place because that's not the person for you, right? Like if that's not the person for you, you don't need to be taking advice from them. But working on your own self and increasing that's going to do way more for you than anything else. Be it you want six figures or not, because you can definitely get it, girl. So, right. So that's what I wanted to say. That is sort of a journey I've been taking, and it's really been working. I look back at my, I'm divorced from my ex husband. I'm like, you know what? If I would have done this, we actually would still be married. You know what I mean? So that's like a humbling thing to be saying, right? Like, oh goodness, this really could have completely changed everything, right? Because my ex-husband he was very balanced in his divine feminine and masculine, and which is great. But like he was also like like I could tell him like this is what I need and he would try to provide for it to the best of his ability. And I'm like, okay, so he definitely did have like the masculine was activated even though he had a very good balance of the divine feminine. But yeah, so it's just real stuff of like what you learn a little too late, but this is what's working now. The attraction level's high, and every time you energetically spiritually grow yourself, you energetically vibrate where you attract a higher quality person. So it's not about outside people telling you what to do. It is about you doing the internal work, vibrating at a certain frequency, and you'll attract people in that frequency. You'll attract the men in your frequency. Now, you got to add a little magic to it or manifesting like Lisa likes to do. You'll do it at a much, much bigger pace. I'm thinking of doing a workshop on like manifest as unlimited dates as you want with the divine feminine and manifesting. But we'll see how that goes if you guys say an interest. Just to be like, hey, you can combine all this work you're doing, combine manifestation, and combine your tapping into the divine feminine, and which makes for a very beautiful and rich dating life, as well as with these principles of not going exclusive. So I'm just going to end on that. Um, oh, hey. Oh, you know what? If you can be best friends with your husbands, that's fine. But it's coming into this awareness that, like, there are things we do in our lives that when it comes to the relationship and you tapping into your feminine energy doesn't necessarily have a place. And so sometimes there's pressure on a guy to be the talker and hear about all your problems. And the reality is a masculine man just doesn't have that's just not how they're wired or the capacity to want to do that. So if you get a man who I think like my ex-husband, very good balance of the divine feminine and divine masculine when needed, but definitely open to receive, receptive, and whatnot. So if you get someone who is like a really good match, I think you're okay. But like if you really do get an alpha masculine type energy, and so notice I didn't say looks, it's all energy, then they're not really made for that. And it's understanding that and going, okay, in this relation, in my business, I'm all masculine energy. I get things done. I do, I think. But in the relationship, like I let him be a masculine energy and I'm a feminine energy. I will say that I actually really like it. I am someone who is very ambitious, very goal driven. But it is sort of nice to just go, oh, I don't have to carry a conversation or do this or do that. Like you do it all. Like it actually, I must say, it is very nice to like let them do all the work. It really is. So even like, I've never hesitated to say I'm like a very strong woman, right? And I have a lot of masculine energy, but like it's nice to like not have to work and do everything and you just tell them how you feel and then they naturally want to provide a solution. Like it's like the easiest I've ever had in my life when it comes to this. So I highly recommend it. It is different. It is following. I guess you'd use the word. I just don't like the word submissive. So I can't use it. I just can't. But you're definitely following. Like they're the other leader. All right. This is, you know what I mean? But it's something that we're really missing. So this is like a quick overview. I gave you some resources, but I recommend any woman who isn't having the best time with their husband or their boyfriend, or they've been, boyfriend, girlfriend for 7 years and there's no ring, or you want someone to be committed and they're not. I highly recommend really tapping into the feminine energy and seeing how that activates the masculine energy. Is it best to not talk too much? Yeah, that is literally what I'm learning. And it's different. And that's why, in what we're learning, like, I'm in these different groups of people who are really tapping into their feminine energy. Because, like I said, she who rules the divine feminine rules the world. Like, I'm dating and people just don't even know why they're so attracted, but it's just like, you're staying stuck in the feminine, you letting them do the work, they're activated. You're activating the masculine to be a masculine man. But a reality comes that like they're not women. So, do whatever feels natural and best, but there is a little bit of a difference. And so my soulmate and I were broke up for like 3 weeks, and like he he comes back around. It's funny because we're like, but we keep growing every time we separate. So it's okay, because that's the point. And he's just like, he was like, our interactions were excellent. And I was tapping more into that divine feminine. And it was saying how I feel, seeing how they provide it, being observant. But it wasn't like talk, 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 talk. And it's like, I can see definitely there's a place for having friends for that and leaving them to be the provider, masculine. You feel, they provide, you receive, and just keep it kosher at that. And you can have a full functioning relationship just on that alone. So that is what I've been learning and implementing. It's been a game changer, which is why, just you're ahead of the pack. Like it's something I didn't know. So it's skill sets that some women will need to learn, just like me. But, for some of us, it's there. It was never, we have it in us. We just learned that we're supposed to do the work. But like, if you're like me, you like the idea of just letting, they're supposed to do the work and just coast. Is it feminine to let your husband take you to the grocery store? Yeah, like, yeah, absolutely. You tell them how you feel, which, like I said, my soulmate was just like, tell me how you feel, tell me. And I was like, fine. I was just like, it got so much better when I was just like, this is how I feel, good or bad. It was the truth. They provide. So if providing is like, hey, let me drive you. I am the protector. I am the provider. I will drive you. Girl, let it go. Unless he drives crazy. So yeah, absolutely. You feel, give that to them and let them provide. Now there's more to it, but there's people who do this way better than I do. But I really think a lot of us got it wrong, and a lot of us are not where we want to be relationship wise. And I'm saying that this has been very extremely, extremely beneficial to all of my relationships. And it's actually making me a lot more kinder, because they talk about, how do you open with warmth? And so it's also teaching me this way of going, say something you do like before you get into the emotions. And so I'm starting to get to this place where I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for putting this all together. Right. And this is how I feel. And it's funny because before I probably wouldn't say anything, not that I'm ungrateful, but like it really is rewiring you to being so much more warmth. And then I feel, and it's having you in this protocol where like you really want people to feel good. And they notice, like they're responding. So being in the divine feminine is not just about the masculine. You really are trying to be warm and accommodating to everyone. I highly, highly recommend it. Highly, I can't say enough about it. And it's really making a difference. Oh, yeah. You know what? Write a book about what? I got so many books I'm